Good morning, Brad.
Morning, everybody. How we doing? Sorry, I'm breathing hard. Just got done working out. Want to first start off and say what a joke, how disappointed I am that Trent Frazier, obviously nobody has a clue what defense is, that he's not on that award finalist list. Obviously, they don't talk to college coaches. More than likely, our style of play probably doesn't allow him to get enough steals, but they look at all the wrong numbers. They don't look at the opponents that he guards numbers when he plays them, because usually it's a night off for that person. Really, really disappointed. He's the best defender in the country. I look at what Ayo Dosunmu's doing in the NBA. He's number one in terms of guys guarded and ball screen usage and effectiveness, and Trent Frazier is better than him. And obviously our style of play hurts him, but I want it out there publicly. It's not a Defensive Player of the Year award, in my opinion, if he's not on it. I'm ticked off. I'm frustrated. I'd like to know who the committee is that puts that nonsense together. But it's obviously not intelligent people who are uninformed about styles of play and how defense truly impacts winning. So on to Northwestern. Very, very good basketball team, a team that's got a lot of returners. They've got, in my opinion, one of the most underrated players in the league in Ryan Young, a guy that minutes per play is having a fantastic year. They've got two veteran guards in Bubui and Adij. And then Robbie Behrens is developing into really a good basketball player. So a very, very good team. It's Illinois Northwestern. It's that are hard fought and come down to the very end. And I would not expect anything different in this one.
Both of you had a tough time executing offensively at the very end in your most recent games. Have you had a chance to work on any situations? Is it affected by the guys you're missing?
Well, that has a little bit to do with, I mean, obviously Kofi's a pretty big presence and is a guy that's at the top of everything we do. Michigan State played great defensively, and yet we got really good shots. We had great opportunities. Jake missed 2 or 3. Trent got a really good look. Plummer missed a really good look. They made great defensive plays. We got to the rim. Their guy made a block or two. Sometimes the ball doesn't go in. So you look at it as execution. I look at it as good execution that the ball didn't go in. But again, it's you don't want to go 9 minutes with 2 baskets, but that was the situation, and we overcame it.
Thanks, Brad.
Tom Izzo has said, Chris Collins' team has a lot of good pieces, and that, you see a lot of talent, a lot of guys who had, pretty good recruiting rankings, but, they've had trouble finishing games. The results in conference play hasn't been there. I mean, what could be like that missing ingredient? What could be that secret sauce that when you have talent, but not like putting it together, do you think?
Yeah, that's very hard to say. That would just be speculation on my point. I don't know. You've got to be around every day. Chris is one heck of a coach. They run great actions. They cause a lot of people issues. They've got 2 guards who can score on ball screens. They're much improved over the last few years in transition. They're down low, a really, really good offensive rebounding team. And again, I agree with Tom. They've got really good pieces, and they're a team that is dialed in. They execute, it's a team that I really like looking at them and watching them on film.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Coach, do you have an update today on Kofi and Curbelo?
Curbelo has not been with us yet due to his protocols. Kofi is going through his protocols, so nothing new on that front.
And you talked about Bubui. Could you go a little bit more in depth on him? What are some challenges in slowing him down?
Yeah, he's tremendous in transition. He's got a green light. Chris has given him the opportunity to go score the ball. He's had 30-point games in conference games in his career, but he's very, very effective off of ball screens. He's got great range, and he's added a nice mid-range game, and where he gets downhill and he can put a lot of pressure on bigs with Nance and with Young, that he's got two bigs who set great screens and both can shoot it a little bit. So he's turned into a very, very dynamic player in this league.
Thanks, Coach.
Good morning, Coach. After the game on whatever night it was against Michigan State, you wrote on the board culture win. You guys haven't had your entire roster yet, and we're at the end of January. About how much has your culture really helped you guys be successful this season despite not having all your pieces?
Well, I don't want to devalue. We got really good players, in my opinion, and we've got pieces that fit into our culture. So it's not just, it's not a systemic. It is a systemic thing, but it's players that fit into our culture and what we're about. And I was ecstatic after the other night just simply because we found a way, and you got two guys who are All-Americans that aren't in uniform. And I could also go on a rant about Trent not being on the Kuzi award list, but you've got guys that are buying into what you do. But I think there's a part of that will always be who we are: toughness, connected, guys that work really hard, and that's what I mean by that when I wrote culture win.
So to follow up, you said the toughness aspect of it has helped you guys a lot, but you've also kind of maybe challenged that at times with your team this season. How do you balance the aspect of they're not tough enough, but they're also tough enough to get these wins without some of these pieces?
Yeah, it's feel. There's days when I feel like I've really got to grind, challenge them. There's you can't just be one way all the time. I can't just be a guy who just drives them and drives them and drives them, and all of a sudden we lose confidence. And that can happen when you don't have your guys. And so finding that level to give them confidence and to still push that. I love this team because of their independence when it comes to working to make themselves better. And it's not just in practice. I mean, we practiced yesterday morning and yesterday afternoon. We've got 6 guys in getting a second lift and while I was in on the Alter G working out, and that's voluntary. That's just them doing it, and that's making themselves better. And I'm excited about that. That's a big piece of what we do.
And if I could get one last quick one, you mentioned all these guys coming in for individual time on their own. Is that different than when you first got here at Illinois?
We didn't get guys to practice when we first got here. Yeah, it's a night and day. And again, it's the trying to get everybody to understand how hard winning is and how hard it is to be and get where they want to go, which is the top of the Big Ten as a team. And then individually, most of them want to go to the next level, and that's hard work. And so, that's why we have this saying, character over characters. And it's a big piece of our recruiting and a big piece of our culture.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach, when did both Trent and DeMonte really buy into defense? I mean, did they arrive that way? Did they build the culture that way? Or when did those two guys really become such dynamic and versatile defensive players?
Well, DeMonte was way ahead of Trent in that capacity. You're talking about Trent was one of the most prolific scorers in the state of Florida. I'm not sure he knew defense, how to spell it, or what it even started with. He was a challenge early on. And, one of the great stories, one of the great memories I always have is Trent at Eastern in that hurricane relief game, sitting on the end of the bench crying, saying he couldn't play here because he couldn't guard their guard. And it's understanding what winning takes, and you don't just score balls. You have to guard to win. And it speaks volumes to both those young men's character that winning is first and foremost with them, and they're going to do what it takes.
And I know you come on here kind of talking about Trent, but certainly DeMonte's versatility is so overlooked too, isn't it? Defensively.
Absolutely. He guards 5 positions. I mean, we had him guarding their center the other night for 4 trips. And, you know, and then he was guarding, you know, Max Christie, and, you know, and it's just unbelievable to have a guy that can do that. And that's why, you know, in our system, that's important. But, you know, we're not the gambling, you know, shot blocking. We try to take charges. We try to wall up at the rim, you know, not foul, you know, and our system hurts those guys because it's a numbers driven thing. So, you know, everybody can talk about it when they say, oh, he's a defensive player of the year and he gets 4 assists a game or 4 steals a game or whatever. And we don't do that. You know, we don't force a ton of turnovers, but taking guys away from what they want to do, we're pretty good at that.
Thank you.
Hey, Brad, hard not to notice you stumping for Trent there. Why is it so important to you that he get noticed in these, you know, awards and watch lists and things like that?
You know, there's very few opportunities that we get to talk about individuals and individual awards. And I'm not that guy. You know, I'm team and we, and that is Trent. And when I can go to bat for one of our guys and something that I know he deserves to be there and I think is wrong, I'm going to do that. And I know very, very seldom, I think there's very few coaches in the country that are talking to a guy about, well, how do you want to guard? What do you like? How do you feel? What do you see? And know that 99% of the time that sucker's right. And it's just the way he feels in those situations, and you trust it. Then, you know, he takes more pride in what he does on that end than what he does on the other. And so I got to fight for him, man. That's wrong. And it's a numbers driven deal. I get it. But you know, our system hurts him. And, you know, I look at what our young man with the Bulls has done, and shoot, he was our 3rd defender, you know, last year. I mean, Trent was always 1, and that's no offense to what Io's done, but you know, because he's elite at it as well. But Trent always drew the assignment, and for him not to be recognized, and especially with what Io's done, it just magnifies that, in my opinion.
And given everything you've been through, Brad, with Andre being out, him being the #1 point guard, and Kofi being out here recently, do you think there's the case, obviously, for all Big Ten, for your own team MVP? Like, what's the value of what he's given you?
All the above. It's huge, you know, and you know, he's been the one piece that nobody wants to talk about. I get it. Everybody else, and all he does is play 38 minutes a night and make every shot, and you know, it's be an unbelievable kid, be an unbelievable leader. You know, if I can tell you this, we're not where we're at without him. And if that doesn't mean impact and all that stuff, you know, that's for others to judge, obviously, but I know where I feel in my heart with him.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Brad, I know you have said, you know, because of what he does defensively, you're not worried about DeMonte on the offensive end, but has he been a guy, just because of the absences, whose output maybe has been impacted by going from role to role offensively?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, last year he was very, he was very singular in his role, and that's why he led the country, or was second or whatever in 3-point field goal shooting. That was what was asked of him. And that's what he became great at doing, and spacing the floor. And you know, this year he's literally, and still is, you know, he's playing the point. You know, he's been you know, at really one of 4 spots, and you know, so his role's been a little bit more diverse than it has been, you know, last year. But we need DeMonte to shoot balls and shoot them in, because he's a very, very good shooter when he's open. And but yeah, he's a big part of everything we do as well on that end.
What have been those conversations with him? I mean, understanding that he does know how to fit into specific roles, but also that he does have this shooting ability. How have you tried to find that balance?
Yeah, and you know, I think there's shows how smart he is because he knows really 4 spots in all of our sets and actions. But I think the one thing it's not as easy as you think going from, hey, I'm a point guard to now I'm a power forward, and making that transition. And maybe his reps are down, shooting the ball compared to last year. But he's all about winning and what we're going to do to win, and he's been great at that. And we do need him to shoot the basketball when he's open because he's going to make it.
And if I could get one more, are you able to say what day Andre first entered protocols?
I don't even know. I mean, it's based on symptoms, and I don't even know when his symptoms started. Like I told you guys, I don't ask. So he's not been with us yet because of all that. So whatever days the CDC tells us I don't even know. So I'd just be speculating.
All right, thank you, Brad.
Hey, Brad, I had a question for you. I'm sure you guys took a look at the film on that Michigan Northwestern game. Was just curious to know your thoughts on how they battled and how you think that bodes for your matchup tomorrow.
They were terrific. I thought that they did an unbelievable job on Hunter. They used a variety of matchups. We know that, their tendency has been to post trap and double. I thought they were very, very dialed in on the offensive end as well. They exploited, certain matchups. They got great play off their bench with Greer, hitting a couple big threes. I thought they were, dialed in. I thought they had a great game plan. They have multiple guys that, the Williams came in off the bench, undersized, very, very strong. He's got a great lower base. And really did a great job in really single coverage on Hunter. So, I think there's a lot of comparisons in terms of what Michigan has been and us in the past. Now, I don't know what that'll look like, with depending on who we have and what we have, but did a good job of Michigan got a couple threes late, but they were contested, and that was the difference in the game.
Hey, Brad, what's the challenge of maybe having to, as you're trying to find ways to win in the Big Ten and do it though when things are shifting so much from a personnel standpoint?
We've probably done more scheming this year than we have in the past. Last year, we've kind of been who we were, and we made small adjustments. This year, it's been more, okay, we don't have Kofi, and or we don't have this. This may be something we're going to have to look at to help protect, without trying to reinvent the wheel, knowing that when we get those guys back, we've got a base in that hasn't changed. And that's probably the hardest part is, it's been more of a game by game strategy than maybe just us continuing to grow with our foundation and play out from there. So, it's been challenging losing, not knowing who we have, and that's kudos to our staff. They've done a great job with that.
So how have the players maybe adjusted to that, and also maybe adjusted to, different lineups and different rotations, and maybe not having a consistency at least this year?
Great so far. Great. You get a Luke Goody stepping up, RJ stepped up, Pajemski, all those guys keep working and doing their job. Obviously the job Ben has done has been, phenomenal. He didn't play hardly at all in 4 games, and now he's a starter. And, Omar's been impacted. His minutes have gone up. So I think everybody's continued. And that's what I talk about with our culture. Everybody's continued to work on their game, stay ready, take that opportunity when it's there. And it's helped us, and it's helped them grow as well.
Thanks, Brad.
Non-basketball question. There's a visitation this afternoon for Associate Vice Chancellor Clarence Shelley, who was for 40 years the guy who recruited Black students and developed Black students at the University of Illinois. I just wonder if you ever had a chance to meet him.
I did not.
Thanks.
Coach, end of game situation seems like it could be big in this game. It had, it's been an issue for Northwestern, and it was almost an issue for you against Michigan State. From a coaching standpoint, is that something that you can impact and that you practice?
Sure, we practice situations all the time, and there's certain situations. We had 3 situations. We went over it on film. Trent's not going to very often miss a free throw, front end of a 1-on-1. We had the situation that he missed. We talked about what was almost an and 1 and the foul. We talked about the free throw blockouts. We talked about, what our scenario is, and we work on it a good amount. If we're up 3, what we like to do in those scenarios. So we talk about them a lot. We show a lot of other teams' situations. There was one happened in the Michigan Northwestern game, free throw blockouts. Michigan didn't block out on missed free throws. Northwestern got 2 opportunities off missed free throws. And so we talk about those things a lot, and knowing that every game, most every game's a 2-possession game. That's the difference between winning and losing. And we don't just talk about them. We have segments in practice, 1-minute games, down 4, a lot of situations. We got one in today. That's a 2-minute game. So it's great to practice those, know where you want, know what you want on a side out of bounds, need a 3, so on and so forth. There's a million of them. You can't get to all of them, but you try to get as many as you can and the most relevant ones.
How do you balance wanting to run some time off the clock with still being aggressive and getting a good shot?
Personnel. It's more personnel based than anything. I know we were pretty patient at the end of the game. I think we had 12 possessions in the last 9 minutes. So were they. I think the one thing that we tried to do was, make sure the ball was in Trent's hands, know where we were trying to go, with it. And again, Trent very easily could add 10, 12 assists the other night. We missed some really good shots. Plummer got downhill twice. One of them was a great block. The other one, he missed a wide open kick out. We talk about those things, but every situation is different, and you're going to keep the ball in the right guy's hands, stay aggressive, and know that the game's going to be, shortened a little bit to try to negate any run that they could go on.
Brad, you mentioned Kofi's still in protocol. Has he worked out with you or done anything with you guys yet?
That's all part of our protocol. Our protocol is about 10 steps. So the protocol goes from waking up and getting out of bed and how do you feel to finally getting back to a full participation. So there's so many processes in there and steps in there that our trainers and doctors have to go through. It's meetings with doctors. It's testing. So I don't even know where he's at in it. So it's based on all of his symptoms, and so he'll take that next step this afternoon. So he hasn't practiced to this point with us.
Thanks.
Brad, if I could get one more, after Tuesday's performance, especially defensively, is there a case to get Luke more minutes here as the season progresses?
Sure. And anything that helps us win. I think that there's a different feel for every game. But yeah, he's a young man that works his tail off and has produced. And I don't go into a game thinking, hey, I'm going to play him or I'm going to play him. It's just kind of a feel by the matchups and how it works. But absolutely, he's been great. And I knew his 3-point shooting, the way Michigan State covered and tried to guard and corral Trent, that he'd get some looks, and he stepped in and knocked him down. And he was great defensively.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.